Thank you very much for the opportunity to make a speech. First of all, I would like to say that originally my thesis that I'm working on contained all offshore jurisdictions worldwide, but as our time is limited, I briefly speak about only European ones. So let us start with the definition, what the offshore is. Well, the International Monetary Fund defines offshore financial center as a country or jurisdiction that provides financial services to non-residents on a scale that is incommensurate with the size and the financing of its domestic economy. And I briefly outline the main reasons for offshore formations existing. The left side for legit reasons and the right side for illegal reasons. So it's asset holding vehicles, asset protection, avoidance of forced heirship provisions, collective investment vehicles, derivatives trading, exchange controlled trading vehicles, joint venture vehicles, stock market listing, and trade finance vehicles. And illegal reasons are credit avoidance, market manipulation, tax evasion, money laundering, drug, human and illegal arms trafficking, fleeing of bankruptcy orders, and other types of fraud. And back for the characteristics of the offshores. So the main qualities of the offshore financial center are at least one of the following. Low taxation on income, property, capital gains and inheritance, anonymity of the owners, beneficiaries, management or trusts, both to the governing bodies and to the public. The next one is low requirements to the financial reporting and statutory audit, bank secrecy and other benefits, for example, geographical location, political stability, and etc. Oh, well, next is the table of all offshore financial centers in Europe. I group them in three categories, depending on their share in the global market of the offshores. The major offshores hold more than 10% of this share as per 2012. I've used the data of Tax Justice Network Financial Secrecy Index, an independent organization that estimates the offshores worldwide. So there are three major offshores in Europe, United Kingdom, well, not United Kingdom, but City of London jurisdiction. I speak about later why it is called so, because it is not the United Kingdom, it's City of London. And City of London holds about 20% of the global offshore market. The second major offshore is Luxembourg, about 13% of global share. Luxembourg is used by Eurobond holders, and it was originally founded as the market for Euro obligations, Eurobonds. And the third major offshore is Switzerland, a country that is proud for its neutrality and political stability. And limited now. It is limited, of course. Previously, in some decades, it was full banking limited, but now it is limited. The next group of offshores are minor offshores. They hold about 1 to 5% of global market. It's Belgium, Ireland, and Spain. And the other offshores hold less than 1% of global offshores. It's Andorra, Austria, Cyprus, Gibraltar, Isles of Jersey, Hungary, Isle of Man, Italy, Jersey, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Malta, Monaco, Netherlands, Portugal, Island of Madeira, San Marino, and Vatican City. So now I shall speak briefly about the major offshore city of London and its brief history. So the United Kingdom, that I've said, holds about 20% of the global offshores. It has the following traits. First of all, it's the head of the Commonwealth of the British nations. The Commonwealth was founded in the middle of the 20th century as the former members of the British Empire. And through the Commonwealth, United Kingdom and the City of London effectively influences on the other offshores. For example, in Guyana, Antigua, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Bermuda, Virgin Islands, Canada, Cayman Islands in North America, Cyprus, Isle of Man, Jersey, Guernsey, and Gibraltar in Europe, and India, Maldives, Seychelles, Singapore in Asia. So it's basically the financial center of the former British Empire. Next point. I have said that United Kingdom and City of London are different jurisdictions. City of London is a jurisdiction with special privileges and rights. And these privileges were earned since the medieval ages. One of the most important rights that city corporation sought to protect was the freedom to trade unrestricted from the national government, from the United Kingdom. And this freedom presumed various forms of freedom from taxation. In the 20th century, and particularly in the second half, the city corporation has become increasingly focused on the defending the freedoms of finance. Also, apart from its special rights, there is a legal development arising from the British common law. It's called the trust concept. A trust concept presumes that the ownership of an asset can be separated out of its control. And such trust schemes are used to create almost secrecy barriers surrounding the company. So the original owners are almost never registered on a public record. And in many offshore jurisdictions, there's usually no requirement to disclose financial statements for trusts, for trust agents, and for trustees. Neither disclosure for financial statements exist, nor requirements for collecting the tax and even inform authorities of disbursements of dividends. And as I've spoken earlier, after the dissolution of British Empire in the middle of the 20th century, City of London started a new business model called Euromarkets, which was no longer dependent on the empire to sustain its position and had to seek its competitive advantage in financial regulation, offering escape routes and safe havens for financial interests worldwide. And for example, if we compare the regulation, the financial regulation in the UK, in the City of London, with similar regulations in Wall Street in the United States and in many countries in Europe and in Russia, you can say that the City of London offers the less regulated space. And that's why these trades were attractive for American and Russian and European capitals that were constrained by the local laws, and they moved to Britain, to London. And essentially, it created a stateless, lowly regulated financial market, the City of London, that grew spectacularly and was soon the cornerstone of the growth of London as a financial center. So, a few notes of conclusion. First of all, I would like to say that offshore is not the place where people pay lowest tax possible. They are viewed, for example, as the places with the most anonymity, most secrecy. So no one can find the real owners, the real beneficiaries, and the real trustees if trust scheme is used. And that's why it lessens the opportunity to find how much funds exactly are kept in the offshores. Only indirect research can be used, for example, as this index, this financial secrecy index that estimates that about 20% of the global offshore is held in the City of London jurisdictions, about 13%, and etc. The second conclusion I would like to add is the characteristic of a modern economy, of the wealth disproportion. And if previously the wealth disproportion was between Western and East and North and South, nowadays that wealth disproportion arises in the West, inside the West. For example, between Spain and Greece, and more developed countries such as Germany and France. And even within one country, for example, the City of London differs dramatically from the rest of the United Kingdom. And the third point I would like to add in my conclusion is that this top strata, this top rich society, tend to move their wealth in these offshores and to create a state within a state with their own private armies and their own government and their own laws. And this is possible if we even compare that. For example, in middle of previous year, in 2012, the Apple Corporation exceeded Spain, Portugal and Greece corporations combined. So one company has value of all companies in Portugal, Spain and Greece. So of course it makes one company stronger than 3 countries at least. And why follow the rules of the country and not to create my own country called Apple? Well, that's the future, one of the possibilities. So, and if we compare this history to the Middle Ages, we can say that, for example, there was a similarity in the past where medieval kingdoms made crusades to the Holy Land. French knights, knight orders, German and Italy, for example, they invaded Palestine in the 11th century and created their own independent knight and chivalry orders with their own rules and their own armies. But nowadays the invasion is not military, it's finance invasion. So that was my brief summary on the European finance offshore centers, and with some conclusions, some features of the postmodern world. Thank you for your attention, and again, I would like to say thanks for the warm welcome of my delegation, of my city, and I would like to meet you next year. Thank you.